Hello, in this session today we're going to look at massaging hands and why it's so important to keep our hands massaged. I know as we're getting older sometimes we can feel that our joints can get achy, they can feel overworked. If you think about using the computer, the mouse that used to be and the computer, the hands do a lot, chopping and writing and carrying. They're a very important part of our anatomy, as we know. I really believe that we can improve the mobility of our hands and we can keep our hands healthy and mobile by a little bit more attention. So maybe we take some time to rub some hand cream in. That's already just saying, yeah, here you are, thank you for all the stuff that you're doing, and noticing any lumps or bumps that might be occurring. There are 6 meridian channels that go through the hands, so to the end of the fingers. So we also want to ensure that there's a healthy flow of energy moving through hands. And from Oriental medicines, we know that the energy channels relate to emotions. So without more ado, we can say that we can carry tension and emotion in our hands. I know some people say to me that they go to sleep with the hands like this and they wake up with the hands like this. So the hands are very often not getting an opportunity to relax. If you see somebody who does a lot of meditation, maybe a lifetime dedicated to prayer or meditation, you see that the hands are generally more relaxed because the mind is more relaxed. So that's the mind-body connection. So I'm just going to go through a few very useful acupressure points on our hands. We have the point here. If you place your thumb just in the groove between forefinger and thumb, point there might be a little sensitive, and it's a really excellent point to just gently palpate when we have headache, toothache, ache in the jaw, and in fact any kind of pain in the body. It's a useful point, and not on one side but on both sides. So maybe we want to just hold our thumb there and breathe towards that point. It's an acupressure point, so if you're at an acupuncturist, they might put a needle in there for different symptoms and for balancing the energy. And the next point, which is interesting on the hand, is like the pad of the thumb here. And just somewhere in the middle, if you just feel that area, there might be something that's a little bit sensitive there. And particularly if you take a thumb and just press onto that area, it's about in the middle of the thumb, and probably easier when we go with gravity when we press down on it. This is a point on the lung channel. So the lung meridian are very linked to our emotions. If we've been suffering from sadness or we're going through a time of grief, the lung channel might get blocked. I hear a lot of people with aching arms and shoulders when they're going through grief. For me, this point is a point that holds our lifetime of emotions. So very often when I use that point in shiatsu for the very first time on somebody, it's a real ow, that is sore. I remember when somebody did that to me a while ago. And that's just telling us that there's something blocked there. And especially when we might not have processed our grief or emotion to the extent where it's really part of our life, part of our life's experience. We've found a place to put it, but it's not affecting our day-to-day life. So I think of it as the point which holds our life experience. So it's a point we can be very gentle with, and maybe just some gentle massage from day to day. We're going to do that with the tennis ball and see what happens. See if there's a feeling of a little bit more breath in your world, in your life. And again, bilateral, both hands. The next point we have is right in the middle of the point, the palm, pericardium, number 8. The pericardium, the heart protector, literally protects the heart from heat, and so this is a point which is a good point to clear heat from the heart. And in our terms, we could say that it allows us to take a deep breath. It allows us to get in contact with our heart space. We feel that if we act and feel from our hearts, life is easier, life flows, because we're less attached to our ego and to our head, to our mind. Also a great point to help us to sleep. So if you're suffering from insomnia, you just gently massage that point. It might be helpful with insomnia. And any stuckness around here, any pain in the heart, and that we feel might be energetic pain. So we're going to move on to how we work the tennis ball with our hands. And the tennis ball is not a new one, it's a little bit squashy. So first of all, we might just massage around our palms. And of course you could do this whilst you're watching television. So you get a you don't have to allocate special time for it. You could just do this whilst you're sitting. So I'm making sure that you're equally moving around both palms, moving the energy and blood flow. Okay, and it might be that we want to rest our hand on our knee, and let's see how we can massage the acupressure points. So if we curl the hand a little bit and come into the middle, in fact there we're massaging both of the heart protector points there. And then it might be that you want to just put on a little more pressure, and do that with a breath. Inhale, exhale, and press. Remember to give yourself all the time that you need. It might be sensitive when you do this for the first time. And just so that we've had equal pressure, let's do that on the other side. And make this as comfortable as you can for yourself. Okay. And then let's come to the pad of the thumb, and we can simply, and it helps not to have our hand completely stretched, but just a little curled in the thumb. And maybe we want to go down the ridge there, all around. And again, see if that brings up a deep breath, an inhale and an exhale. And then we're going to continue, go down the fingers. So let's roll the ball down our index finger and back, and all the way into the palm. And then about 3 times, then we're going to the middle finger. And notice any sensitivity, go gently. And the ring finger. And then the little finger, just rolling down there. And then coming to the parts just in between. So you could just go a little bit more vigorously there. Okay. And so I'm going to come to the other side. First, we're going to start with the pad of the thumb. Maybe down the outside of the thumb onto the joint. It feels nice. It feels like giving some attention to our hand. We're going to go down the index finger, rolling. This is a little more sensitive than the other side, and indeed it is a finger that is a little more painful on my hand. I need to keep an awareness of that and do this more often. Ring finger. And little finger. Okay. And then let's just take a moment to feel our hands. Maybe they feel a little warm. It might be useful if you have cold hands. It's improving circulation. It's bringing blood flow and energy and oxygen in our blood to the tips of our body, the extremities. So we're going to look at the other side of the hand by using the table. And if you lay your hand flat onto the table, and you could just, in this groove here, you could just roll the ball. And if you experience some pain, you could find a way just to put a little bit more pressure. So just as an alternative to doing that with your other hand, you could use the ball. And then we're going to go down in the joints between the hands. Just if there's anybody here who's familiar with reflexology, this corresponding to the lymph glands around our neck. So let's say if you had a cold, you weren't feeling very well, a little bit sinusy, this would be a great place to keep massaged. And you could go down each finger. Start with the thumb on the other side. We did the other side. We're now doing the top of the fingers and just gently rolling. It might be that there's a draw to the side of the fingers that also feels absolutely delicious. Okay, just putting the ball down, noticing if one hand feels slightly more awake than the other hand. So let's take the other hand. We're going to this point first of all. Let's roll. And then we're going to go down the thumb. And we don't need to cover that in this session, but on our fingers we have one or two acupressure points, a start or an end point. So lovely to stimulate those and bring flow to those acupressure points which join in the hand and want to flow all the way through the body. Again, I'm feeling a little more sensitivity in one particular finger, so I would take it very easily there, lots of breath. And then ring finger. And then not forgetting the joints in between the hands. Okay, hand a shake. And let's simply grip the ball on our knee, so gripping and release. We can think of this as a tension and release, and you'll find your own ways just to steady the ball there. Squeeze and release, and that's going all the way up your arm. And about 3 times on each side, just squeezing the fingers and releasing. So we're letting all the fingers work equally. And just any more rolling that might feel good between the fingers and the hands. And then when we put the ball down, let's just give our hands and wrists a shake. And just resting our hands, noticing what you feel. Perhaps it's a tingling, a warmth. Your hands are really awake and ready to help you to work on the next step. That's where we'll finish for today with this session.